past 11 years, we've been hosting this competition. Whose idea was this? Do you know who wanted to start this? It wasn't my idea. This was Chris Wagner's idea. From Z Purple. When he was a president, he reached out to me and said, what if we supported this competition? And I said, absolutely. So great job on leading that. We really appreciate the ongoing strong support from Z Purple. We will be introducing the judges later. The judges are fair. You can't, bribe. You can't persuade them. They are fair judges. They do a great job. So with that being said, where'd our MC? Where'd our MC go? Oh, Evan, there you are. Evan is a distinguished alumni from Texas who is going to be our MC for this evening. Thank you, Evan, for being our MC.
We'd like to now introduce the first team coming up this evening, Champs. Champs, come on down.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm excited to see you all here. Our group name is Champs. This is the overview of our presentation.
My name is Loam Shin, and I'm a part of the Human-Centered Computing degree, and I grew up in a hearing family. My name is Mina Nicola, and I'm in the same situation. I had a hearing family, and communication actually was pretty good on my end. My name is Rose. I'm a fourth-year student in advertising and public relations, and I was interested in seeing associated with my experience, which was limiting compared to my friends here.
A common occurrence. 90 to 95% of deaf children are born to hearing parents. Oftentimes, their parents do not learn any sign language before the children enter school.
So the problem that we're trying to address is that most parents that are hearing are not teaching or learning sign language, and if they do, it's late, which means their children are deprived of language, and socialization, academics, experiences, all of these are a deprivation to them in their world.
You may have noticed that two of us had mentioned hearing families. We want to focus on families that have hearing parents and deaf children so they can learn ASL together. So that's why we named our app Champ, because we have a Champ solution for this. The goal for us is to provide access for hearing parents and deaf children so they can have a positive future.
Again, as mentioned before, the individuals that will be using our app are going to be focused on hearing parents who have deaf children. We originally were leaning towards children between the ages of 3 and 9, so we're thinking individuals that can use tech. And the age is really essential because picking up the skills and being able to take in things from their world, if they are not being exposed as children that are young, they're not getting these things that are going to benefit them, thus causing the language deprivation.
You can see here our different apps who are competitors. We have Lingvano. That's an app that looks a bit like Duolingo. The concept is relatively the same, though it's in sign language. With the ASL part of it, there's an individual who is signing. You can fill in the blank with the vocabulary word that matches the sign. ASL Kids is another competitor. This app has different basic categories: animals, colors, numbers, food. The signs are based on categories where parents can learn sign. Next, we have the ASL app. That's an interactive dictionary of videos and words that match, so individuals can learn either the English word to match with a sign and vice versa. Science School is relatively similar to the ASL app. It's an interactive experience where users can look at the different signs and they can try to memorize the different signs. And then we have ASL Bloom. That's almost a mix of Science School and Lingvano. Individuals can learn vocabulary, they can look at the sign, and at the same time they can see if the sign feels comfortable for them. If not, they can look at those videos again and again until they feel comfortable. But what you notice is that these signs don't have these apps don't have sign recognition. So having that, both parents and children can learn how to sign together, so children have that ability to communicate with their parents.
So how are we going to make a profit throughout this with the use of this app? We're going to have a variety of different kind of categories, such as food, colors, places, and whatnot. And so the individual is going to learn basic sign language, and they're going to have exposure to a variety of these categories. And as they continue to learn, the parents are going to be like, "Ooh, well, we want to learn more." And so there's going to be other additional categories that they can pay. And so based off of that, then they can choose what other things they want to pick up, as well as that's how the profit's going to start accruing.
We were trying to figure out who we should test this app on. We interviewed a couple of college students. Originally, the plan was to interview hearing parents with deaf kids, but as college students, we didn't have the time to do those types of interviews. Hopefully, in the future, we will have the ability to do testing with that population. We used Figma for the testing. It was a simulation of the tool so people can see the design, how it functions. When the college students tested the app, individuals, if they were confused, we would notate that. We would ask them, what are you confused about? What do you think would be easier for functionality? And we took notes on that. You could see on this graph here, we have numbers. 1 means that it worked, it passed their expectations. 0 means it failed. The lowest rating was actually during the interview, so the user thought, you know what, it's a game, but it actually isn't. We decided to get rid of that function because that caused a lot of the confusion. The highest score was the sign in and create account and copy the sign process. That was pretty standard. It was pretty intuitive for users to follow. The user testing is incredibly important for us to improve on the app because without asking for feedback, there's no way that we're able to improve that app. So it seems that users were able to use this app in a pretty fluid manner.
What you see here up on the screen are a variety of prototypes that we were able to develop. We were trying to figure out the different color schemes, what was essential. So we gathered that feedback from individuals based off of their experience. And basically we wanted to make sure that the categories were clear in the different kind of like styles. So we were able to gather that information. So based off the design and the functionality, we were trying to bring that the lifeness of what each category entailed to the category in the app. What you're going to see here on the top right is that you have a sign and it says a specific color, or so you have the power as a parent to then pick it up and then be able to teach. And there's a strong relation based off of that picture as well as the term. So again, we're trying to ask hearing individuals to learn sign language to be able to help their deaf students, or I'm sorry, deaf kids be able to learn. So what we're doing here is we're seeing parents, they're interacting, and it's kind of like a game, but they're learning how to do certain things within the app based off of the person who's styling and showing that sign. So with the ASL kids, you'll see within the video, and it's really possible to also incorporate Center Access Technology, which is a company that we were bringing into life through this by showing the video incorporation with the term.
We are getting the cue that time has run out.
Thank you for your time. Great job. Beautiful presentation. I was really impressed with your prototype. So tell me how you plan on marketing this out to the world. How are you going to reach out specifically to the target audience for parents? What are you going to do to convince them?
After testing and more user testing, we're going to ask hearing parents of deaf children. Once we get that, that will be put out on the App Store and Google Play Store. We can also set up a page on Instagram and Facebook to advertise our app, especially reaching out to users, maybe school districts of deaf schools, and where they have deaf students that have hearing parents. Hopefully in that case, the schools can refer the parents to the either Facebook page or Instagram page. If they're interested in what they say, they can download it on either the Apple Store or Google Play.
Great job thus far. If you wouldn't mind, I'm curious about your business plan. What would that look like? How do you plan on like the pricing, the costs to get the infrastructure started?
Short term, we're going to be doing a lot more user testing. We'll be working with software engineers to work on sign recognition. That is a huge part of this app. That way, when parents and children sign, they can identify whether or not the sign was produced correctly or incorrectly. Once we work on that software, we will be able to actually release the app. We will be working on some categories, and if the parents do decide to continue on learning, they will be able to pay, and we can fund some of the development from the parents' subscription.
A follow-up question. How much are you going to charge for each category?
Between $1 or $2, we don't want it to be overly expensive because parents may not want to pay for it, which would actually have a improper result in what we want to do. So yeah, if they pay for $1 or $2 per category, it will add up.
Following her questions, do you have any plans a month, like maybe possibly having different options per category instead?
So it won't be a full subscription where they pay $1 or $2. It'll be per category.
Okay, and then in addition to that, we have another follow-up question. What are you envisioning, like how many categories in totality?
Roughly 10 categories. As of right now, we have a few. We can maybe do country signs, we can do animals, school, sports, really, you name it, we could add it. Grammar will also be an important category to add.
Okay, and my last question, the design of the app, it was really beautiful. Wondering by chance if you have any flexibility to change the colors. So I'm just thinking about, maybe the red coloring for those that are colorblind. Maybe that's going to be a hard sell. So can you change that?
Yes, we are mindful of that. That's something that we'll do in future iterations. That is a feature that we want the users to be able to work with, to be able to accommodate their needs. So we would love to do that. And that's why we mentioned that user testing is incredibly important because that's how we're going to make improvements on our app.
If you win the $5,000, what is your plan? What are you going to do with it?
That's a good question. We will likely hire a software engineer and work with different individuals, not just us three, but to, again, the more heads, the more ideas we have, so we can brainstorm much more on how we're able to further develop the app.
I just want to say you did a great job. I'm also interested in knowing how you plan on collaborating with other companies. Is that on the docket? Like maybe something associated with American Sign Language? How do you plan on doing that if that's the case?
We plan on using temporary videos that are already available just for testing purposes. For the user experience testing, we want to make it as simple as possible. We will get permission from videos that are already readily available. And so by doing that, that will help us gain the video dictionary that we have.
I think I'm going to grab the last question here, Chris is saying. So based off of your revenue, how many clients would you need to be able to make a break-even standpoint?
When we first release the app, it might be a struggle, but once that app gets out there, I'm assuming it's going to be a lot better for our revenue. Once we add the subscription plan, we add the cost for separate categories, that will all add up. I know it seems $2 is not that much, but if it adds up, that means that we can add more categories. Parents might be interested in doing a subscription, and we can come up with more and more ideas. Maybe the subscription come up with some sort of premium features that users will be able to experience. We're not at that point right now. Once the app is released, we'll be able to figure out that problem later.
Brian here, I think I'm going to grab the last question. I think it's important to explain that. And so I think we're able to help you with the, for example, culture. What about features associated with deaf culture within your app?
It's a good question. Since we plan on having different categories, we could have individuals signing different stories, backgrounds about deaf culture. So we can add in storytelling so kids can watch these and be inspired. Even parents can look at it. And in that signing, the children could pause it, or even the parents could pause it if they are unfamiliar with a specific sign. So that's a feature that we can likely add in to incorporate deaf culture.
Thank you very much for your time.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Are you ready for the next team? I'd like to welcome to the stage Q-Tech. Hello, I am Yungjin Yi. I'm co-founder, chief executive officer, and this is my sign name. I'm pursuing a master's in architecture, and I am co-founder.
I am chemistry and entrepreneurship. I am CMO.
Hi everyone, I'm Sean. I'm a fourth-year major in psychology. I'm really interested in creating projects, and I'm really glad to be here today. And I am the COO.
So our company, I'd like to be empowering through accessible innovation, creating inclusive experiences, and driving positive change. One of the things we noticed that was a problem is you're driving for a long trip or through different states or talking with friends in the car. We had tried to figure out where in the vehicle there might be captions. We've got Google Map, we've got GPS, we've got all these different apps that are voice activated, and they're right there. It's easy to hear, but the problem is if you put captions on, that's usually in a center console, it's hard to see. And often if you're using a GPS to try to navigate through an area, they see arrows, and there's lots of arrows showing you which way to go, etc. But those are also voice commands that say which direction to turn right or turn left, and if there's a traffic jam, etc. So there's a lot of issues that come up that we miss. We aren't able to catch those things. The other thing is if we get pulled over by a policeman, we want those communications to go smoothly, and that is a challenge for the deaf people in the world today. So CoAI is what we're using, and that is a company that we're working with which changes any car to become a self-driving car. So this was something that we looked at that inspired us that we would be able to develop our own product.
So what is Q-Tech? It's an innovative captioning device used in your vehicle, not only for deaf and hard of hearing drivers, but for anyone. Maybe you wouldn't be able to clearly understand the navigation speech directions. It's easy to miss directions and then miss a turn and get lost. So this is inclusive for all drivers.
We did pass out a prototype, and we passed some of them into the audience. The judges can keep theirs, but if the participants or the attendees could please give them back at the end, that would be terrific. So this module we're going to actually attach on the vehicle near the drive shaft of the vehicle, and then we're going to be having captions displayed up inside the car. And you can decide that the captions can be on all the time, or you can have them be on for a while, then turn off on their own, or turn them off yourself. And they're right there, easy to see, easy to understand. The product is, we focus on accessibilities. If you get pulled over or if there's any kind of emergency vehicle that goes by, we can have that caption right there that says, I'm a deaf driver. And that way, if a policeman, for example, looks inside the car and sees, oh, I'm a deaf driver, then they can figure out a way to communicate much more efficiently rather than, hey, are you reaching for your license or are you reaching for a gun? These are things that we want to make sure all the drivers are safe, and it allows for the policeman maybe to write down what they're trying to say, and then the captioning can do that with the policeman as well, make sure that everything is clear. The same thing is if you're working with your GPS and it lets you know turn left or turn right. And it will be reducing distractions while you're driving as well. For example, if you are with your friends, you're driving on the highway, you've got your music on, it's loud, and you don't know there's an emergency vehicle behind you, you won't know that. But now this will show up and give you a warning that says emergency vehicle behind you. You can then move out of the way.
Safety is key. We want to reduce risks to drivers and the community. There are more than 300,000 accidents annually. So we want to focus on an inclusive driver experience that focuses on safety. So we've got our first audience. The ADA law requires accommodations for individuals based on whatever their needs are, but that doesn't apply to drivers. It applies to a number of other instances where access is improved, but nothing within a vehicle, and there's no way to know if a driver is deaf or hard of hearing, what kind of communication is taking place with law enforcement if they're pulled over. There are different ways they can try to communicate, but this would be an inclusive all-access device for every driver. Our customer base would be deaf and hard of hearing or late deafened individuals, as well as hearing individuals, because it's inclusive to all people. We would work with car manufacturers to ensure that this was included in every vehicle within production. We've got the driver. We've got engineers. We would need a whole team of individuals to create the product. It would be working with manufacturing, again, to be a point of sale product within the vehicle upon production. We have to consider the materials used, marketing that we need, startup fees, and monies.
So you may be wondering how it is that we're going to get the word out about our product. We're going to be going through these various ways. We're going to be going to auto shows, talking to manufacturers, trying to get these into the new car production line, get to put it right in. We're also going to be partnering with various people in the different areas, and we'll be able to go to places and show exactly what our product can do, and also be able to demo our product with varying companies. We're also going to be working with brand ambassadors and trying to partner with those varying companies. We provide free testing, as well as figuring out how to get it out to the customer. This is what we would do as part of our responsibilities.
We all know we all have advanced technology, so that's why we want to invest everyone to have access to everything. Technology, innovation, everything. So for 3 companies we have, Comparison, Actividia, it's all emotional detective, where you see the sleeping, drowsiness. Now, Vuzix is one of the best captains for goggles or glasses, where they have nice captain for driving. Now for Q-Tech, why we want to put inside our vehicle to see the captain. So we have every asset, we have better data privacy, and maybe everything. Now, why invest in that? Maybe we want to invest. New technology, we have new thing, new technology, new innovation, Now, maybe 2050, we have new technology where it's all EV. Maybe new Tesla where they have an advanced captain on the car.
So you've got Apple Play, you've got Google, number of different apps and maps. Is there any fear of someone looking to read captioning and that being a distraction to their driving because they're averting their eyes from the road?
That's a good question. People are already doing that. People are using their phone or they're setting up their GPS while they're driving, watching YouTube. I mean, there's all kinds of things within a vehicle that are very distracting. And you're trying to tell people you can't do that. You need to pay attention to the road, but that doesn't happen. People will be looking at various things. And so what we're going to do to make it less distracting is put it more right in the front of the driver. And it's going to be central vision, so it'll be easy to see.
So it'll be on your windshield.
It will be on your windshield then?
Yes.
Right, it's not safe if someone's looking away from the road, so anytime they avert their eyes for any type of reason, it's distracting and dangerous. So this is going to be centrally located right within the driver's central vision. While they're looking at the road, they can see it. So anything that you need to be alerted of, be it an emergency vehicle or navigation, it's right there in front of you to read. And then the screen can change depending on how it's set up, whatever the needs of the driver are. The font can change, the size of it can change, where it's located still remains in a very safe central place. So we don't know the context of whatever driver may need. We only can say that it won't be a distraction and it will alert drivers to any kind of emergency vehicles, emergencies on the road, times they need to pull over, or navigation needs. I think this is cool. So, you're saying the captions will appear, but what if there's sunlight or a glare? How will that impact the driver? And secondly, how will it let you know that there's an emergency vehicle behind you? How does that work?
So we decided to have a speech-to-text collaboration with where they have Google and Microsoft Translator. They both already had speech-to-text. So we want to add those features into our program.
And also, to answer your first question, we actually will provide a screen that will help reduce reflection and glare. And we also will have a shade option that will be blocking the sunlight. So you know how that you get the reflection on the screens you have in your cars now. We're going to be able to use the same shade and protection and screen to be able to block the sun's glare.
And to answer your question about how it would know emergency vehicles are behind you, we would work with those emergency management systems to connect them to our device so that it would know specifically which vehicles were behind you, what type of emergency it was, and it would be standardized, just as the AI system will learn that. So I'm looking at your marketing plan and your strategies, and that's a really great layout. You've thought of a lot of things, number of different ways to market your device. How are you going to reach out to car manufacturers? How are you going to reach out and negotiate with companies to allow them to allow you to put your device in their vehicle?
Well, fortunately, I do have experience in advertising with various companies, and that's helped us develop those connections with varying car manufacturers, which means we're going to start with those connections. We're going to show them the product that we have and show how it's going to work for them as well as work for us, and it would be beneficial for both. And we're also going to go to trade shows, car shows, etc. And then as those companies are the manufacturers recognizing us being at the shows, etc., then we're going to be connecting with them even more, and word will get out, and that's how the companies will know to look for us.
So this prototype that you gave us, how can you guarantee it's going to work with all of the different manufactured models of vehicles? Because there are a number of vehicles. How can you ensure, again, that it's going to work with each vehicle? Obviously, there's hopes that within future generations of vehicle production, there will be new devices, but this is a way for us to test our device in a number of different vehicles. Maybe we'll begin with American-made models, and then we can work with foreign-made models. Again, right now, we've got user testing. We're going to be working with our team to get a driver experience or a user experience. Not every vehicle will be the same. We'll have to determine the design of the vehicle and the needs of the user, and there's no perfect device, but we believe through an iterative process and user experience that we'll be able to accommodate all vehicle types.
Customer safety is our primary goal. I mean, this is, we cherish lives, we want to keep people safe. So we're going to be working with consultants, and we're going to be figuring out exactly what we need to do to make it fit each of the different models and work that out through testing as well.
So you did a good job. I've got a question. I'm really interested, right? Would this be, I mean, does the car need to have some kind of signal? Could there be some kind of light device or some sort of other way that it alerts drivers?
Could you ask your question again, please?
Right, so how is this better than other cars that have some kind of signaling device, maybe some kind of coded system that alerts a driver, like the blind side or the lane changing devices that are currently in vehicles?
Yeah, every vehicle does have different features. Toyota has a lot of safety features involved. I mean, they have a 5-star safety rating for those varying things that they have put into their cars. And so we are going to have different options, color options, etc. If those that have vision issues, we're going to be able to be as flexible as we can. And that way the drivers are going to be able to change whatever they need to fit each individual driver. We're going to customize it to fit each driver, and that's our goal. Okay. I would like to introduce our third team, Minzy.
Wellness delivered to your senses.
Hello, we are Mimsy. I am Brent, and this is Zoe, two source managers with interest in transforming healthcare using modern technology. We are a tech-centric wellness company with innovations to bridge the gap that exists between service providers to hearing and hard of hearing deaf individuals seeking to learn movement modalities. The commonality between all people is movement. I was born with a profound high-frequency hearing loss. At age 20, I survived a car collision. Having wanted to be a doctor since I was a child and in an acute state of need, I became a Feldenkrais, a registered movement practitioner, to heal my injuries.
My status is hearing. I am a contemporary ballet dancer who has relied on meditative movement therapy to endure the progressive development of an autoimmune disease after exposure to dengue fever 9 years ago. We both know communication through movement is essential to everyday life. This is where our focus lies.
The goal is interacting with the user appropriately and minimally through the least perceivable stimulus. We believe technology can expand into an underserved area, the deaf and hard of hearing performing movement practices, which makes reading captions tedious and compromises the quality of the movement practice.
We recognize that there is a great barrier for the deaf community, specifically in communication styles. They are heavily reliant on instructors' voice, cadence, speech style, tone, and word choice. The communication barriers are overwhelming in a minimally verbal and fully tactile space. Classes are often delayed, little to no accommodations available, lips are hard to read, all leading to challenges keeping pace in real time. We set out to revolutionize deaf health and wellness, creating a hub of learning through a multi-sensory online platform solely for the deaf and hard of hearing that taps into our alternative senses through visualizations, haptics, and audio stimuli.
We have identified potential people who would be interested: fitness enthusiasts, physical therapists, movement practitioners, And two main classifications are between movement for pleasure, such as dance and sports, and movements for remediation, like massage and health modalities. We seek to gain traction from both. After conducting 30 interviews, we see that our customers fall into two main categories: end users who are deaf or hard of hearing, and movement therapy content providers.
From those interviews, here's what we've heard. Joan, a trauma-informed yoga instructor working in charter schools, said, "There's definitely a need for the community to experience the healing she witnesses before her eyes every day." We also heard the issue from hard of hearing students who love to play sports in communal spaces. She describes no accommodations being made and relying heavily on visual cues from her teammates.
These interviews made us aware that our customers are people like Jean. Curious about her body, movement, and meditation, Jean has a dedicated room to arrange technology supports. She started using the internet for courses and struggles during backlying poses when she can't see the screen nor hear the instructions. Rebecca has a desire to work with people like her mother who have developed hearing loss. She reaches most of her students online. She's smart and patient, willing to train herself and her students. She'll train her students using a guide and is willing to adapt her presentation by having some cues up front. But she lacks the skills to create an accessible website and does not know any sign languages. We want to help her through our online movement platform, which contains a video you're about to see. It has on-demand multisensory content, over 24 different styles of movement, inclusive wellness education and training, and top-grade mindful movement practitioners.
Here is our video lesson layout. The platform is designed to be interactive with animated characters that demonstrate the meditative movements and poses, short phrase captions, and signed illustrations in sync with a personal ASL interpreter assistant who signs the full audio recording. A timer gives cues for breaks, breaths, and meditative pauses, all along with a low-frequency vibration playing from an audio speaker. Mimsy is not just an online platform. Our integrations are designed to be multifaceted and to tap into other senses, creating an immersive experience with wearable technologies that could take the form of VR goggles, caption glasses, responsive hovering telepresence, robotics, and haptic wearables in the form of gloves, wristbands, and headbands. Now, let's take a look of one combination of these devices: a telepresence robotic arm with a wearable haptic glove. Here, the user, in the comfort of their home, will play the video recording while using a smart screen intelligent enough to optimize the field of view of the user and reposition to the best viewing angles. While a user is in a position or pose where their eyes are closed and they have no field of view, for example, in a meditative breath work, haptic gloves vibrate to signal when to look back at the screens. Through this experience, we hope to capture value
for the deaf and hard of hearing who need access to movement and exercise therapy in the form of meditation content. Our Mimsy will provide a platform and display for participating in movement experience in an accessible way. For movement therapy practitioners who need accessible methods, our platform offers a space to include the deaf and hard of hearing who seek movement and meditation content. Unlike our competitors, our virtual platform offers translation into visual and kinesthetic form. Most competitors offer video with sound. Some of our competitors include Movement and Creativity, Nick's Feldenkrais Project, Glow.com, and Deafhood Yoga. These companies make no efforts to include in a multi-sensory way. Captions have only been partial, and some still use only audio. We are the only system to integrate audio, visual, and haptics into a multi-sensory learning environment. We're also the only ones to integrate with smart devices, such as telepresence monitors that allow for repositioning the display during the presentation.
Now we did our research, and after assessing the market, we observed the total available market in movement healthcare industry for the deaf and hard of hearing is $9.5 billion, of which $857 million would be our accessible market, as only 45% of people in the US have access to internet service and smart screens. We aim to target at least 15% of this, which is $180 million, $128 million in value. Now, for our business model, we have determined 3 possible revenue streams that rely on MIMSI operating as distributors of high-grade assistive tech purpose for movement therapy, and content creators that are digitally accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing. We will take raw audio, video, written curriculums, and translate it into a multi-sensory expression format through media production teams. Users will access our content through monthly subscriptions from our platform, and if practitioners wish to integrate our services into a communal setting like their classes, we'll provide their studios with external devices for rental. Now, after a 7-day free trial, users can access 3 types of subscription. The first is basic, offering only partial access to content and no purchase of external devices. For standard and premium subscriptions, there is an installment fee embedded into the final price that goes into monthly down payments for 2 compatible smart devices, one that enhances visuals and the other providing sensory vibration. The difference in price is only because of the time taken to pay off for these high-quality gadgets. So what's next?
In the next year, we will continue customer discovery, leading to the creation of a web-based MVP. With the system in place, we'll fine-tune pricing. We will seek early adopters to provide feedback for improving the system, which will then grow into new modalities based on market conditions. What we need is talent. People to translate the new content to establish the base hub will span several skill sets. We'll need team members to assist with creating new content, as well as integrating it into ASO and partnerships with tech companies who manufacture these devices. Thank you for your attention. We now open the floor to your questions.
This is a fascinating presentation. Where did you collect the data for your numbers? So you had the different subscriptions and the dollar amount for each of those. Where'd you find that data?
So just to clarify, when you say the data in terms of is it from our customer discovery or from the price points?
Both, actually.
Okay. So
Where does the data as a whole, where does that come from?
Okay, so for our customer discovery, we have been talking with and inside of the RIT community, as well as the local Rochester area. We've been talking with practitioners, and we've also been talking with students here on campus. We've been trying to get to know their experience. 30 is a small number to base anything off of, but we've also been looking at benchmarking most of the devices that are already out there. We're looking at online platforms, and we're also looking at what our competitors have been pricing their product.
Great, thank you. Thank you for a great presentation. And I wanted to ask about the other accessories. You said you were going to have gloves with haptics, a mat. It seems there are products that, are there other products out there that offer sort of haptic experiences?
So just to make it clear, we don't have any intention of building any of these devices ourselves. We intend to partner with people outside in the market, such as Google. Google has capturing glasses, and we'd want to partner with these big tech companies and repurpose them for movement therapy.
To be honest, I have never thought of movement therapy as an option. That's not a need that I have quite yet. But you have a personal experience with that, which has made you discover that need. In your spectrum of medical therapies that you have discussed, where does movement therapy fit in? How big is that market?
So I'm a Feldenkrais practitioner, and make sure I get your question correct. Can you repeat the question just to make sure I have it? Yes.
Sure. How big is the market for movement therapy?
We did that research.
Yes.
That
So-
was a large, there's different
Yes.
categories depending on
Right.
what type of modality you go into. You have yoga, you have Pilates, you have out in Christ, you have fitness. Do you remember what that totaled to be?
Yes. So we based it on all of these various types of modalities. We picked the ones that were most popular, like yoga and Pilates, for example. But there are other ways in which movement therapy integrates itself into healthcare. It happens in physiotherapy, for example. It's used in also somatic practices in talk therapy. So we thought of those spaces too.
Sure, thank you. Good job. I have a question. If I wanted to use that, how much does it cost for all of this in total?
It depends on which subscription you get to. So you can do the basic for the least amount, which doesn't include any of the external devices. Or you can pay more for the standard, which then includes the devices. So you have some flexibility there.
Okay. Great job. I saw on your payment plans there were 3 options. I did catch the 24 movements of therapy plus one-on-one sessions.
Yes.
That's a great idea. Have you ever thought that maybe that's something similar to Peloton, where they have live sessions with instructors? Is that something that you have considered for a future iteration of this, to have live sessions, some type?
So,
Yes.
yes, absolutely.
So we
To have that two-way street, to have the two-way communication would be very influential in creating relationships with the users.
We also recognize that it would be difficult to try and address live sessions, as that would probably, just for the technology's sake, would require like AI in order to capture movements in real time.
Okay, thank you.
Truly, you're all winners. Excellent job. We had extensive discussions, and it was hard to choose the winner. We reviewed the criteria for this competition, and we are thrilled with all 3 of these teams. We are thrilled that all 3 teams will have a cash prize. So, to begin with, we'll start with 3rd place. In 3rd place, we have QTech. Come on up. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's get a photo. I'm looking forward to great things from you. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. One more photo. Thank you so much. You can take that. It's yours. Good luck trying to cash it, though. Okay. Now it comes down to the 2 teams that are left. In 2nd place, we have we had some really deep discussions about these 2 teams that are left, and we got really hung up just on one point. There was 1 point that put one team above another. Second place goes to champs. Congratulations.
Thank you, everybody.
I expect to see your app soon. I'm going to keep my eye out for it. And of course, the winner goes to Mimsy. Congratulations. I expect to see your project, succeed with this money. Congratulations. This has been a really enjoyable experience to watch these last 11 years and all these competitions, to see people thrive here. This is such a great opportunity for us to learn together, and I'm really thrilled about that. Again, congratulations to all the winners. I expect to see your app. I expect to see QTech. My car will have your product in the future, and the movement therapy. All awesome ideas and projects. On behalf of ZRS and Purple, and NTID RIT, we are so proud of this institute and what we've accomplished. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much to the team, Brian, Spencer, the whole team that was involved in making this event happen. Thank you so much. Wonderful job.